Hi, I'm Richard Maraj, Senior Minister at Unity of Phoenix Spiritual Center, and I want to thank you for visiting our website and for tuning in to today's message. If you feel inspired by today's talk, I really encourage you to make a donation by hitting that button below and making a contribution to this ministry. It'll allow us to continue these messages online and to do the great work we do here at Unity of Phoenix, which is to inspire people to live better lives. So thanks for tuning in, thanks for your support, and we hope to see you at a Sunday real soon.
So how many people have ever had an area in your life where you felt stuck, trapped, or held back? Anybody ever? How many people ever had a relationship or a work situation that you absolutely knew was unhealthy and not good for you to stay in? Anybody? I want to break free. I want to break free. Let's affirm that together. I want to break free. Take a deep breath into that. Again, one more time. I want to break free. So how many people here relate to that and know there's an area in your life you want to break free so you could live more fully and freely? Everybody? All right. You know, I want to break free, to me, is a powerful stance. It is a powerful place for us to be in. And for us to get to that place, to affirm, I want to break free, we need to be aware and to recognize the areas in our lives where it is time for us to let go. Where there is something in our lives that no longer serving our highest and best, where it's time for us to release ourselves and to be free from it and to move on from it. You know, to me, whenever we're stuck in life and life isn't moving or improving, the first question we need to ask is, what am I holding on to that I know it is time for me to release, that it is time for me to let go? You know, I want to break free is more than just a nice tune, a catchy phrase, a nice idea. It is a wake-up call and a reminder to all of us to look at those areas in our lives where we're allowing circumstances and situations and conditions and relationships to literally block us and hold us back from being fully who we came here to be. Hanging on to situations that make us feel frustrated or empty or unfulfilled is calling us to look at our lives and to wonder, where is it I need to break free? So today we start our 4-week series, our annual Songs of Life series. And you know, I think we all agree that music just takes us to a place that the spoken word can't. Music has a way to uplift us, inspire us, even bring us to tears and open our hearts. And I'm sure everyone has probably had a difficult time where some song was your anthem that you played over and over again, whether it was I Will Survive or whatever it was that got you through it. And so songs can teach us powerful things, not just take us to great emotional places. And so today we're going to look for the next 4 weeks at some powerful music from the rock band Queen. How many people saw Bohemian Rhapsody? Yeah, right. How many people saw it 3 times like me? Okay, all right. It kind of reinvigorated my passion and my love for not just their music, but especially for Freddie Mercury. It just really, really got me jazzed. One of the things, I love so many things about them, but one of the things that was really impressive is that all 4 of them were so different. And of any other band, all 4 of them all wrote hits. You know, usually like with McCartney, Lennon, I mean, whatever, there's usually 1 or 2 that write. And this song today is from the bass player. The bass player, not against bass players, but I'm thinking this was really, really cool. So it's John Deacon wrote this, and he also wrote Another One Bites the Dust and My Best Friend. I mean, really, really, really talented. And while this song is in the context of breaking free from a relationship and falling in love and wanting a full life as it's described in a relationship, I think in general it talks about the principles and the practice and the process of breaking free from things that aren't for our best. It is about learning how to let go, you know, how to move forward and how to move through that process of transformation and change. So what we're going to do is look at a couple of the key lines and see what message it has to teach us in us breaking free and moving forward to live more fully and freely. So the first obvious line we're going to look at is, I want to break free. It seems like a simple line, but it actually is a powerful statement of recognition of 2 things. First, an awareness and a clarity that there is something in my life that is not healthy for me, that might be toxic, that is limiting and not beneficial to my well-being and to my happiness. It's stifling my soul, stifling my happiness and fulfillment. And the second one is, I want to break free, affirms that we have the power to make those changes. We have the power to release ourselves, the power to change and transform. And even though we help create those conditions, we can choose again, and we have the power to make something greater and better from it. And so whether it's a relationship or work or living with shame or dealing with an addiction, it doesn't really matter what it is, that we have that power to break free from those limiting experiences. You know, I think I've shared this once because it was the most powerful example of breaking free that I've ever experienced. It was about 15 years ago. It was a documentary about transgender individuals. And it was this guy, and he and his family lived in the Northwest, and he was great looking. And he had a wife who was great looking. They had 2 kids. He was like a physical education teacher. I mean, they were like the family of the neighborhood and the community. You know, he was a soccer coach. I mean, it was about as perfect a picture as you could imagine. And then he shared with his wife, you know, that he was going to make his transition. And they lost friends. He lost his job. He lost so much. Thank goodness his wife continued to be a rock and a support. And in this interview, they said, you know, with all of the stuff, the upheaval, all the things, you got shunned and all these things, was it really worth it? And he said, absolutely. Because while the picture looked perfect, it felt like my soul was dying. And I needed to be true to myself. You know, there are areas and times in our lives we need to compromise, that we need, you know, to conform in certain ways. But when you get to that level that it is stifling your soul and dishonoring the truth of who you are and the life you came to live and the work you came to do, that it is time for us to break free. So where in your life are you living that is not in full alignment with the truth of who you are, the truth of the life you came to live? Because it's not easy. Everybody isn't going to agree. You know, everyone isn't going to fall in. Going against societal norms or family expectations is not easy. E.E. Cummings once said, it takes a lot of courage to grow up to be who you really are meant to be, because it isn't easy. You know, even John Deacon, who wrote this, in a way, he had to, you know, when Freddie Mercury died, he took it pretty, you know, it really devastated him, and he didn't want to be in the band anymore. And then the other guys were like, hey, lots of money, fame, we can keep this bad boy going. And he was like, no, he was just done. And even his own bandmates, you know, would say, well, something's wrong with him, he's antisocial. And to me, it's like, no, it was something he needed to let go. And I actually am inspired that he was true to himself and lived life on his own terms. And he had to break free from everybody's expectations. And he lives a quiet life. He's happy. You know, we always think fame and rich and money is the best way to go. No, you have to honor what is right and best for you. So again, what is an area in your life that really isn't healthy, that really isn't the truth of who you are, and you know it's time for you to break free? And it's not just a matter of knowing that area, but knowing that you have the power to transform it. I read 2 articles. These are the actual titles of the articles. The first one is 9 Ways to Break Free from Your Toxic Life Before You Are Trapped Forever. That was the title. That was the title, for real. The second article was entitled, Liberate Yourself Before It's Too Late. It's like, what? And it sounds kind of silly and hilarious, but sometimes we stay stuck and stay in unhealthy situations for years. Staying in work and jobs that aren't fulfilling, that we hate and dislike. In situations with families or relationships, we stay in situations. We live life so below and beneath the desire and the things that we truly, truly want. And sometimes we keep doing that and we think life isn't going to get any better than this. We can feel a level of despair. That's what the great word, that famous quote by Henry David Thoreau when he said, the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. That we go about living our lives realizing it ain't going to get any better than this. And we kind of give up and give in. But that's not the truth. We are powerful spiritual beings. We are creators. We are manifestors. We are transformers. No matter what situation we've gotten into or settled for years, today we can make a new choice. Today we can move in a new direction. Today we can release it. Today we can take steps towards something greater, healthier, and better for ourselves. So again, what is it that it is time for you to break free from? And are you willing to accept and know that you have the power to make that transformation. The next line I want to look at is, I've fallen in love for the first time, and this time it's for real. You notice when you're in love, like everything is great, like you're excited and happy, you're enthusiastic and joyful, everything about life is good. And while this thing says, I've fallen in love, wanting to leave that relationship to find something greater, it isn't just about relationships. It's about finding what lights you up, finding new purpose, new direction, new meaning in whatever area of your life it is. To get your light back, to get yourself back in your groove. And it could be anything. Like, I haven't watched American Idol since Ruben Studdard was on it. Was that a while ago? And so, but the other day, like on Facebook, how people post things? They posted an audition of a young lady named Ashley Hess, 27 years old, a dental hygienist. Lionel Richie, Katy Perry, and some other guy, and she literally sang like 3-4 lines. They said, stop, stop, stop. I was like, wow, that's rude. And what they said was, that was so incredible. The voice control was so amazing. It's like, why have you not done something with music? You're 27. Why now? And she was saying, well, she didn't think she had that talent. She thought being a dental hygienist was a pretty secure move. And they said, you have got more talent than you realize. And you see this girl light up like she'd fallen in love with life and found her purpose and her meaning. That sometimes we haven't given ourselves permission to open up to all of our greatness, all of our talent, all of the beauty, all of the possibilities for our lives. This whole idea about falling in love for the first time, it's about renewing your passion for life and your joy for the things that you do. And it comes in all ways. I have a brother who has struggled with anxiety for most of his life. He's struggled with alcohol addiction and drug addiction. And we're a family of 10, and we're all close and lovey-dovey and all into each other. He's a recluse. He doesn't come around a lot. We have this family email. We always send things out. Everybody responds. He rarely ever responds. And so, but what's been amazing over the last couple of years, and we just love him up all the time. Doesn't matter what he does. We love him up. And the last couple of years, he's actually replied to a couple emails. And then in the last few years, he's actually owned and been more aware of his addictions. He's checked himself in a couple of times. He checks in with the family. And last Saturday, as I'm preparing my Easter message, got an email, a family email from him. He initiated it. And he said how blessed we are, how blessed he is. He sent this inspirational thing, wanted to wish us all a happy Easter. I was the first to reply to all. And I said, as I'm preparing my Easter message, I could not think of a better Easter gift to receive than to get this message from you and how much it meant to me. And then he wrote me back telling me how much he loves me, and I told him how proud I am of him. And so my brother has fallen in love again. And it's about taking care of himself. It's about honoring his addiction, honoring his struggle, and taking the best care that he can. And he's opening himself to his family and letting himself receive love and even initiate connection for the first time in his life. There are possibilities of greatness for all of us. We all get stuck at times, and we need to open our hearts and to say, what is life calling me to do? At this age and stage of my life, what is it, that I'm being open to and wants to ignite itself in me? And it doesn't matter what it is, but there is something in all of us that is lying dormant, that it's time now to give it life. The fact is, the first thing about having to break free is that it gives you the opportunity to break through and to open yourself to an area of life. And so what would your ideal life look like if you were to fall in love with life again? If you were to open yourself to all your talents, all of your goals and dreams, the things that you may have put away or the things you may have never acknowledged. This thing is, I want to break free, helps you recognize something in your life that's limiting and know that you have the power for it. And falling in love represents moving towards some ideal or greater picture and possibility for your life. And then it gets tough. Because from where we are and what we want to break free from to where that falling in love and that thing, it isn't linear or always easy. Because it even says, I'm falling in love and this time it's for real. And then the next line is, but I have to be sure when I walk out that door. How many people ever want something and you second guess yourself? Anybody ever do that? Is this right? Should I do this? Is it time? What if I mess up? What if it doesn't work? What if I leave that and this thing falls apart and I have nothing? We go back and forth like that, wondering. We get anxiety about it and stress. It's like we want to get to second base. We just don't want to have our foot leave first base. We get to that place of anxiety and doubt. Anybody ever make a bad choice? Okay. I always say that, I've said it many times, if we all wrote our autobiography, there'd be a chapter entitled, "It Seemed Like a Good Idea at the Time." We all have that. And, we all make mistakes. We're all afraid to make mistakes. Even though we know what that picture is like, we'd like to move towards, we're kind of scared to take that step towards it because we might fail, we might fall, we might look bad, and we think we might lose even what we had before, so we should hang on to that other thing. And, there's a line that's used 3 times in it that I love, and that is, God knows. They hit God knows 3 times. God knows I want to break free. God knows I'll fall into love. God knows I want to make it on my own. And to me, that is about, for God knows means the depths of our soul is speaking to us. It is from our most authentic place. Not that we share with anybody, but it is that God knows. And for us to want to break free, we've got to trust. We've got to trust that inner voice, to know that our souls are meant to be free, that are free. And we need to trust that the universe supports us. Trust that all things are working together for our highest good. And trust that our soul and our spirit has a plan and a purpose for our lives, but we've got to turn to it. We've got to go deeper. If we really want that transition to happen, we have to do it at a soul level and keep seeking and knowing that higher place in ourselves. The next line is that after he leaves, says, I can't get used to living without you. There's a gap between what we've left and where we've gone. And sometimes, like the children of Israel, they left the slavery in Egypt, the bondage, and they were moving towards the promised land. But the wilderness scared them so much that when they were at the Red Sea, they said some things like, "Oh my God, Pharaoh's men are coming back for us. This is horrible. This is horrible. We should have stayed there. Instead, we're going to die out here. This is horrible. At least we had some food back there." I'm paraphrasing, but I'm just saying. How many people ever been on a diet and it was going great for a while and then you fell back into your old pattern? Anybody have or a thing like that? See, that's what happens, is that sometimes we move towards the new thing we want. It's scary, and we end up reverting right back to the old pattern. And whether it's going back to smoking or going back to whatever the old thing was, we sometimes find comfort in that, even if it is not healthy for us, because we get scared to step out and step out big. But change is not easy. Letting go of whatever that's been in our lives for a long time is not easy. Because we are creatures of habit. We repeat patterns in relationships, patterns in decisions. And it's possible to break it out, but it is not always easy. And we have to understand that so we can get to where we want to go. Do you know 90% of the thoughts we think today, we thought yesterday? And so is it a wonder that we attract and keep wanting to go back to the old patterns? In the Bible, it refers to going back to old patterns. Anybody want to guess how many times? 63 times. 63, because human beings tend to go back into their old patterns. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. 100% true. But it needs to be renewed and renewed and renewed. My brother was telling me, you ever watch an Indian movie? They got more colorful stuff than anything I've ever seen in my life. And they dye cloths. And my brother said the way they do it is they put it in the dye, and then they put it in the sun, and it dries in the sun, but some of it fades. So they have to put it more in the dye, and then put it in the sun, it dries, and it fades. And they keep going back and forth until it becomes permanent. And so that sometimes we need to stay persistent. We need to keep pressing on. We need to keep doing it, and it will change and transform in time. Remember a number of weeks ago, I told you I was doing this intermittent fasting. I grew up eating late, and so I was trying to not eat after 6, and I was doing a low-carb, high-protein diet. And I did amazingly well for the first 6 weeks. no sugar, low carbs, no dessert, not eating after 6. Then my sister and my brother came from Canada for a visit. And they both have sweet teeth. And so my sister said, look, it's your birthday, we should do a cake. I wasn't really planning on it, and I thought, okay, how about strawberry shortcake? I believe it has less sugar, or I could be lying to myself. I don't know which one. But then she went and she bought this ice cream that I didn't want, and it's called Enlightenment. Anybody heard of this? It's got protein, fiber, and only 3 grams of sugar. She bought 4 containers. So that night, me, my brother, and my sister shared the 1 pint, one of the 4. And then so they left. You know where the story is going. So I'm lying in bed at 8 o'clock, 2 hours past my deadline to not eat, and I could swear I heard some sweet whispering, some seductive sounds. Why is it that the sugar freakiness in us comes out at night? I have no idea. I ate the entire pint by myself. Then I got disciplined again for 2 days, ate it again, then I waited a week and I ate it again. But here's the thing. I'm not giving up. That I've been good for the last week. And sometimes that happens in life. Just because you fall back, it's a part of that process of transformation. Going from slavery in Egypt to the promised land takes some time. There's some wilderness, you'll have some fear, will it work? But you just got to stay persistent. You got to keep pressing on, and it will change. Just like dyeing that cloth, keep going back, keep going back. Yeah, some of it'll fade, but keep going, and it eventually will be permanent. And then the last thing I want to do is talk about is that line when it says, I don't want to live alone. God knows, got to make it on my own. You know, we always want people to help us, and that's a good thing. But ultimately, no one can go to that secret place for you. No one can eat for you. No one can sleep for you. There are things that we have to do for ourselves, that we have to find happiness on our own. We have to have peace in our own heart. You know, and for us to change and transform, it really has to start with us. True freedom is about knowing you have the power to change, that you are the one out of which all the transformation can happen. One of my favorite quotes from George Bernard Shaw says this: most people say they want to be free, but they don't really want to be free. They prefer to moan and blame and complain and put the responsibility on someone else. But freedom actually means taking full responsibility for your life. Freedom is liberating and scary at the same time. Responsibility is liberating and scary at the same time. Here's one of my favorite quotes. I usually don't like reading quotes this long, but it's by Ralph Marston. It's one of my favorite. And here's what he says. You are responsible for everything in your life. If a windstorm blows the trees over in your yard, you're responsible. If a drunk driver runs through a red light and smashes into your car, you're responsible. If your employer goes out of business due to poor market conditions or poor management, and you're left without a job, you're responsible. Is it fair that you should be responsible for all these things? No. It is absolutely not fair. And if you wish, you are perfectly justified in feeling sorry for yourself and complaining to anyone who will listen about how unfair things are in your life. That is one option. But there's another one. Take responsibility. Even though it's not your fault, take responsibility. Even though it's not fair, accept the responsibility to make it better. Responsibility is not a burden that's heaped up upon you. Responsibility, in fact, is the exact opposite. Responsibility is your way to free yourself from those burdens. Responsibility is the way for you to take control. Look at the word itself, responsibility. It is your ability to act in response to whatever circumstances the world might dish out to you. Who's responsible for all this? You are. Accept your responsibility, live it, use it, and shape a more positive world filled with true joy and fulfillment. You know, life is not easy, and we do not always make the best decisions and choices. that there are times that we do feel stuck and trapped. There are situations that aren't healthy and aren't the best for us. But the good news is that our soul knows, God knows. There's a deeper part in us knows that we are meant to be free and to live lives more fully. And when we connect with that knowing, we will get to the place where we know we can make a new choice, where we know that we can change and transform the situation. It all begins by becoming clear and aware and affirming the truth that I want to break free. God bless you all.